굳건한 한미 동맹으로
Political disagreements in America.
문재인 대통령이
기독교계 단체인
평창올림픽 개막식에서
대한민국 건국 시점을 1919년으로 언급한 뒤에
미국 뉴욕 개막식에
With your help and the good Lord's grace,
and freedom, our socialism, ended.
저는 지금 Cpac 저는 지금 Cpac의 공동의장 자격으로 오늘 이 자리에 참석했습니다. 저는 내일 한 5분 정도 스피치를 할 예정으로 있습니다. 스피치할 내용은 지금 한국과 미국의 보수주의자들이 서로 단결을 해서 사회주의자들의 위협에 공동으로 대응해야 되겠다. 그리고 지금 한국은 지도자를 잘못 뽑아서 어려운 처지에 있기 때문에 미국 보수주의자들이 협조가 필요하다. 그런 내용이 되겠습니다.
Sweden went to socialism, and it was so bad they went so far back on the other side that they're one of the freest economies that we see out there. You look at the Netherlands. I mean, I think that somebody asked them about Bernie Sanders, and they said, they criticized Bernie Sanders and said, we don't want that. What you have to understand is the next time somebody talks about capitalism, don't go and put down socialism, defend capitalism. Because capitalism is freedom. And if you want freedom in our country, you will fight for capitalism every day of the week.
A great moment when you talk about politics. In the first year, having Jair Bolsonaro as our president, which is also my father, we reduced in 20% the number of the murders. Brazil is not in a recession anymore, so we grew up a little bit more than 1%. This year, we think we are double-sized, so we are doing great in economic, the security, but we have a long way to improve it because this is only the first year.
중국의 그 헤게모니 확장과 그 위협에 대해서 어떻게 세계가 특히 동아시아가 공동 대처할 것이냐 하는 문제를 초점으로 하게 될 것입니다. 보수주의에 대한 이념을 보다 확고히 하고 또 정책적으로 어떤 정책이 당면한 시기에 문제가 되고 극복해야 되느냐 하는 것을 창출하기 위해서는 이런 대규모 모임도 있어야 되고 또 그 모임을 통해서 함께 견해도 나누고 또 함께 해야 될 미션도 공유하고 그러는 장이 많이 열렸으면 좋겠고 와보니까 역시 부럽네요.
I'd like to make one thing very, very clear to you. That is, regardless of the political persuasion one belongs to in my country, a vast majority, meaning 92% to be exact, of the Korean population, Korean people believe that it is a good thing that we have this alliance relationship with the United States. Different question. In 20 years' time, would you rather see Korea aligned with the United States or aligned with China? That's another question. And then over 85% say that, sure, after 20 years, we should be aligned with the United States. Only about, I think, 13% say that perhaps we should better align with China. So what I'm saying is that although we have differences domestically about economic policies, internal policies, what kind of policy we should pursue, or whether we should applaud the Korean government's efforts to stem the flow of coronavirus, or we should criticize the Korean government for not doing their job. We have differences, but vast majority of the Korean people believe that US is Korea's friend, and we should be aligned with the United States.
Another brilliant thing the president did is that when he met with Kim in Singapore and Vietnam, China wasn't there. This was great. It prevented China an opportunity to manipulate the talks to its advantage, to play deal maker. We don't want to have six-party talks again that China runs, talks in Beijing, where China will get an agreement that may lower tensions but mostly promotes China's interests. The president was smart, and I'm sure you played a role in this, KT, to say, if we have talks with North Korea, we're not going to let China run them. They're not going to be at the table. All the Democratic presidential candidates, they're saying this is a solution. It is not. Now, look, we want China to help us, and we've been pressing the Chinese government to press North Korea to live up to its obligations, to denuclearize, because if there are more powerful underground nuclear tests that could be H-bombs, they're going to breach the surface. They're going to leak radiation into the atmosphere, and this radiation is going to drift over China and over South Korea. We have to make this point to China. It is in their national interest, in their security interest, to get tensions to be lowered permanently, to get North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons, and to make it clear that it does not need these weapons as any type of security guarantee. There's no possibility of an American invasion of North Korea. North Korea should recognize that, and we need China to help make that point.
going to be frank with everyone in this room, and that is North Korea is pretty much, and this, I hope this translates okay, a dog on a leash for China. And so we have to, the only way we will get North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons is for China to partner with the United States and all the other freedom-loving countries, and together with the Russians. I don't include them in the freedom-loving countries, but for the world to put the pressure on the Chinese specifically to have because let's be honest, North Korea only survives because of Chinese patronage. Their regime only survives because of the Chinese think it's a useful tool to disrupt and destabilize really the entire Pacific Rim. And so I want to be very frank that for me, especially as it relates to North Korea, we cannot have that discussion. And Gordon and I have talked about this before. We can't have that discussion without holding the Chinese accountable. And I think your point is well made to, and I've talked about this in different settings, and I talked about it this morning in a different context. But, fundamentally, if the Chinese want to be part of the first world order, of other countries that trade together, share information together, exchange citizens' ideas, then they're going to have to participate as a true first world country.
I certainly agree with Ambassador Cho that there needs to be more effective sanctions enforcement. If we go back to the middle of 2018, the United States had cut off about 50% of the flow of international cash to the regime, but then decided not to sanction almost 36 Chinese, Russian, and other front companies. And because Kim Jong-un changes his front companies all the time, if you don't sanction the new ones, you're allowing the regime in Pyongyang to hollow out these measures. So my answer to Lawrence's question would be, first of all, as Ambassador Cho said, more effective sanctions enforcement. We know from Reuters that there is a draft UN panel of experts report that is now in the works, about to go to the Security Council, which showed, and I think it was something like $370 million of illicit transfers between North Korea and primarily China. Many of these were ship-to-ship transfers, which are themselves specifically prohibited by Security Council resolution. So it seems to me that someone's got to be financing these commodity sales, and that probably is Chinese banks that are handling this money.
I want us, U.S., to exploit weaknesses of Kim Jong-un and put more pressure on him. And one of these weaknesses is that he is no longer considered a god among North Korean people. And let me explain that a little bit about that. With the nukes, Kim Jong-un has been teaching or telling his people that with the nukes, everything will be resolved. I mean, he's been brainwashing, I guess that would be the more accurate term for it, brainwashing the people that once we are the nuclear nation, now we can succumb the U.S. to give us all the economic aid we want. And the North Korean people believed this until Hanoi. And when he came back from Hanoi, the people of North Korea was very disillusioned. And Kim Jong-un actually made a comment that he was only human.
But we have to understand, and I hope the Moon government does, or whatever government replaces the Moon government, and that is the choice not of Donald Trump or the American people. That is the choice of the Korean people. But whoever your leaders are, if you can, as Fred Fleiss said, you have to do some work too. You have to contribute to our common defense. We need a fair and equitable trading relationship, but you need to deal with your own peninsula. You need to deal with the Japanese. You need to find a place where you can work together. We are all in this together, but we are not going to fight your battles for you. Those days of America are over. That's why we encourage you to your country to have a leadership that will negotiate well with ours. We'll give a little, you'll give a little, we'll find a common ground. But if the United States and Japan and Korea form a tight alliance and are firm and strong, that means the Pacific will remain free. If not, if you're squabbling among yourselves, if we're squabbling with you, then as Fred just said, the only winner in this is China. And China, do not make any mistake, China has been clear that its long-range goal is as follows: to have the South China Sea become an independent Chinese lake, a Chinese lake which the Chinese control access to. They have a Silk Road, the One Belt, One Road, where the Chinese are going to control land-based access. So they will have a maritime and a land-based trade route access they will control that will go from Europe to the Middle East to Africa, all the way around to Japan and Korea and the rest of Asia. That's their goal. That's their first goal. Their next goal is to dominate the technology high frontier space. So that with a 5G network, for example, that the Chinese will own the technologies of the future, whether they have to buy them from Korea, steal them from America. They want to have the dominance of the technology and communication systems of the future. And then on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China, they plan to have the United States out of the Pacific and back to the shores of the west coast of California. And so I think we're all in this together, but I encourage you the same way people encouraged people like us a decade ago, go out there and make the case to your own people. Change the attitudes in your country. Speak out. Don't be afraid. If you believe in something, just go for it. And then change the conversation in your nations, because you are a democracy, because you have close to a free press, probably freer than ours is right now. And go and make those cases to your people. Encourage your friends, your Japanese friends, your business partners in Japan, your business partners in other countries in the region. If we stay strong, then China will, we do not want to contain China, we don't want to stop China, we don't want to suppress China, but we don't want China to treat us all as vassal nations.
탈북자의 입장에서 바라볼 때 한미일 이 관계는 자유를 가치로 하는 그 동맹 관계라고 생각을 합니다.
So as a former North Korean defector, or a North Korean defector, I believe the tri-alliance between the United States, Japan, and South Korea should be based on the values of the freedom and liberty.
저는 북한에서 33년 살면서
Based on my life, 33 years of my life in North Korea,
사회주의가 정말 인간에 의해서 인간에 의해서 인간을 노예로 만드는 정말 나쁜 그런 체제라고 저는 확신을 하게 됐습니다.
I learned and I believe that socialism is a system created by human which destroys devastatingly the human itself.
미국은 자유의 종주국으로서 반드시 이 전 세계에서 사회주의 공산주의를 없애야 될 책임이 있다고 생각을 합니다.
The United States is the founding country that's built based on the values of liberty and democracy, and I think the United States is responsible and has responsibility to defend this true democracy and freedom for the entire all the countries in the world.
다시 한번 부탁드리지만 내년에는 꼭 자유의 진달래꽃이 평양에도 백두산에도 필 수 있도록 우리 미국인들이 꼭 약속을 지켜줬으면 좋겠습니다.
So I dare ask once again, please by 2021 spring, help spring come in the area of Pyongyang and the mountains of North Korea so that North Korean people can truly enjoy and appreciate the values of liberty and freedom.
그래서 한미일 삼각동맹이 더 광범위하게 이렇게 확장되기를 간절히 바랍니다.
So that ultimately the Korea, Japan, and United States alliance will be expanded and appreciated by the entire nation and the world.
발언 기회를 주셔서 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much.
By opposing the U.S. South Korea joint military exercise and by opposing disposition of defense-only missile defense system, it's called THAAD, in South Korea. Also, by opposing the advance of U.S. military ship in the waters between South Korea and China. In addition, China has taken advantage of North Korean nuclear project.
Well, right now in Korea, we have freedom at stake, and I don't mean this lightly. A conservative president was impeached a couple of years ago. She's jailed now, and the leftist government, very brutal leftist government, has taken over the country. And for the last 3 years since, the country is spiraling down. It's losing freedom. A lot of journalists, a lot of conservative activists are being jailed, and in every aspect of life, freedom of religion to freedom of assembly is being attacked. So we are in a very dire situation. That's why we came to Cpac to learn. And last year we had our first Cpac, and conservatives are coming together now to fight against socialism.
If you ask our friends, indeed I was at a hearing today where they said President Trump's foreign policy was a failure. But remember, these are the same people who said for years that we could never achieve exactly what we've done. They said, and I've read it, they said, boy, you can never successfully confront China on trade. We have a phase 1 trade deal. They said you can never get Mexico to control its border, and there are thousands of Mexican troops helping us stop the crossings. They said you'd never defeat ISIS, and the caliphate is gone. They said the pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal would lead to runaway proliferation, but it's restored deterrence. And they said taking out Qasem Soleimani would lead to World War III, and it's actually made our world far safer.
It was freedom, not socialism, that ended slavery, won 2 world wars, and has made America a beacon of hope for all mankind. It was freedom. So as the Democratic Party seeks to nominate and embrace the failed policies of socialism, we must renew our resolve in this year, 2020. As the President said 1 year ago, America will never be a socialist country.
For all of the soaring heights that we've reached, we know that there are still more records to be shattered, new summits to be scaled, more triumphs to be realized, and more amazing history just waiting to be written. The American adventure has only just begun. With your help and the good Lord's grace, we will continue to push onward to our nation's magnificent destiny. We will continue to make our republic the inspiration, the glory, and the envy of the world. As long as we are confident in our values, loyal to our citizens, and faithful to our God, there is no limit to what we can achieve. The United States of America will always march on to victory. America is thriving like never before, and ladies and gentlemen, the best is yet to come. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Mercedes. I want to thank the great patriots of Cpac. God bless you. God bless America. And we will see you next year. Thank you very much.